Yes, you lot, what you're saying. In today's video, we're going to be designing a retro style streetwear slash cover art graphic. So I've recently been designing within a certain style and I just can't put my finger on it, so I'm just going to go ahead and call it the Pink Floyd effect. Now of course Pink Floyd isn't the only group to adopt this art style, however it is most definitely very prominent within their branding. Now if we were to conjure up some bougie cocktail for this style, I reckon it would consider a lot of psychedelic rock, a little mix of synthwave and a little dash of surrealism. So after taking some inspiration from this style, I thought I'd take you guys on the journey of how I took this stock image to this retro style sort of streetwear graphic. So I began by creating an A3 document at 300 dpi and covering the whole artboard in black. This is my standard procedure when creating streetwear graphics. I personally just prefer starting on a black background as it just sort of gets my ideas flowing a little bit better and you don't need to worry about the harsh border outlines that you do on a white background. I then imported this image onto a new layer using the quick actions preset and selecting remove background. However, due to the black tones in this image, I had to go in and use a pen tool and then manually go in and select certain bits which the pre-action didn't actually pick up. Now, as you can see, this process wasn't done the most cleanly. I wasn't being too conscious of doing it perfectly, just as I knew this graphic would be blending into the black background anyway, and I sort of wanted to have a little bit of a rough outline to my graphic, so I wasn't too conscious on it being the cleanest. Once this is done, I then copy and pasted the layer twice as I knew I wanted to apply texture to the layer underneath. I did this by selecting my top layer and then taking it to the good old filter gallery. Once in this window, I had a little play around with a couple different sketch filters. However, I thought this stamp worked the best with what I wanted. I then changed the layer style of this to subtract, leaving quite a grungy and dark texture over my original graphic, which is what I was aiming for. Now the image was looking a little too dark at this point, so I just went ahead and adjusted the hue and saturation, just bringing up that brightness a little bit more. Now I did this by selecting create clipping mask, and what this does is allow you to just edit the one layer and doesn't affect the rest of the document, files, layers, whatever you want to call them. Now I wanted the graphics stand out a little more as the soft black edges were starting to feel a little bit lost, so I adjusted the layer styles and added an inner glow. I eventually ended up choosing the colour red for this just as I thought it added to the graphic quite nicely. I just like that sort of colour palette it was giving off. Now selecting the shapes tool, added this triangle. This might be where the little Pink Floyd effect started coming into play. I then pushed this shape underneath the other layers because I just knew I wanted to create this as a little backdrop for the graphic. Now time to add some colour, so I opened up the layer styles and selected stroke and the colour overlay. My goal was to create a neon sort of glowing backdrop, so once I added in the glowing option, the white stroke worked really well of looking like an LED tube. Now I wanted to have another triangle facing down, so what I did was just go ahead and click copy and pasted the layer, and then selecting the flip vertical option. As done before, I just pushed it to the back and adjusted the lighting and colour to complement the pink below it. Now at this point I thought the design was looking a little bit too clean, so I went ahead and muddied it up a bit with this grunge texture I found online. If you guys want the texture, then I'll link it down below. I use it for a lot of my graphics, so I do recommend this one, it's really good. Then making sure the layer was above everything else, I then changed the layer style to subtract. Now this texture did slightly darken it again, so I just went into my hue and saturation and adjusted and increased the brightness. Now I wanted the image to roughly convey that the head is raising up from a triangle, like there's some sort of portal element going on, so I raised the bottom of this layer, creating that effect. Now next was adding my elements of type, which I went for a font called Kilgrew. Guys, I'm telling you now, I've been using this Streetwear looking font forever now. It's just so good for putting on certain graphics. So yeah, it's a free font. I'll leave that again in the description below. Highly recommend it. Go check it out. Now I went for this theme of inner peace, as I just thought the butterfly on this person's head really sort of provoked that idea of like stillness and tranquility almost. Now I wanted to create a sort of subtle 3D effect with this typography, so I copy and pasted the layer in the same position and then blacked out the type and slightly lowered this layer underneath the other. Next, wanted to add a little stroke of colour to this type to almost create like a graffiti looking effect. So what I've done was just go ahead and created a clipping mask and then painted a straight line holding shift and dragging from one end to the other. Now I knew at this point that I needed some sort of one little last element of design that just sort of tied the whole graphic together. Therefore I went for this sort of little synthwave looking pattern to have in the background. I thought this worked really well, so I just went ahead and adjusted the hue and saturation to fit my design a little bit more. Now finally I wanted one more area of type, so I found this quote which I just thought sort of fit the design really nicely. So I just incorporated it below the graphic. And then as you guys can see, this is how the design would look either mocked up on a t-shirt or an album cover. So hopefully you guys were able to take some inspiration from this video. I do recommend just going on Unsplash or Pexels or other stock image websites. They're really good for just starting off with certain assets within your streetwear designs or album cover, whatever you want to do. If you guys do create anything in this sort of similar style, I'd love to see them, in which you can show me via Instagram. My.digital, cheeky little plug there. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one in a bit.